Hi folks, and welcome back to RevShed Backfire Classic Bike Workshop. Today we've got a different bike in the workshop. It's a Yamaha Serow 225 trail bike, and it's been suffering with brake problems for a little while now, and the MOT will be coming up very soon, and it was time to do a thorough overhaul. So I stripped down the brake master cylinder, and I doubt if you'll be able to see it in here, but inside there's a very tiny hole, and that hole had become blocked. It was also losing brake pressure and lever travel, although it bled out okay and would return, so there was obviously air getting in somewhere, in which case I decided that I would remove the brake caliper, which is situated at the back of the fork leg on the left hand side, and so we got a new kit for that, which is in here in this little tray, and that's the master cylinder top. So that new seal will be going into this caliper that is on the bench here at the moment, all nicely cleaned. The new seal is in situ, all blown out with the airline, and I'm just in the process at the moment of cleaning up the piston for the caliper. So there's the master cylinder, and you can see the seal inside there. The other groove that is directly above that is to accept the dust seal, and if you can see on the edge of there, I've actually applied just a little bit of rubber grease, which will help to stop water ingress behind the seal and causing corrosion, which tends to build up over a period of time, and that tends to swell the seal. I've also done the same with the seal that's sitting in the master cylinder, because that similarly, when it was dismantled, had heavy white corrosion, had swelled the seal to such an extent that it had caused damage to the piston area. So I've dressed that piston up with a safe edge file, just so that it didn't touch the edges of the piston itself. Just to take the burrs off. The burrs were created when I had to use some grips to attempt to turn the seal and turn the piston, sorry, and free it up to get it out. No amount of air pressure from the airline would push it out, and I suppose I mistakenly should have pushed it out a bit further with the hydraulics before I removed it from the bike. So that was a bit of a lesson learned, because the brakes wouldn't bleed up again because of the problems with the master cylinder. So that's been dressed up now. It's outbound of the seal, so it's not going to harm it having a bit of a rough surface, but I've taken all the burrs off just so that it doesn't cause any damage to the seal that sits underneath it. The seal is held in by that circlip there, so it has to be carefully inserted after you've put the whole thing together. And the trick with this is not to push the piston fully home before you actually fit the seal onto the second groove. You have to put the seal into there first, then get the piston, put the piston in first, then put the seal in on top of the piston, and then carefully get the centre of the dust seal over the edge of the piston. Once you've done that, the piston can be pushed home, and then the whole unit reassembled with the new pads that I've got sat on the bench here waiting to go in. The front ones are these, and these are the rear ones. The front ones are sintered pads, but the rear ones are non-sintered. I prefer a better bike with the back brake, particularly for trail riding, where you use the back brake quite a lot more than the front. Okay, so getting that seal back in is not the easiest task, I will admit, and you have to be very careful. it's easy to just damage these other pieces of the seal when you're trying to get the seal in. Once the piston is pushed back in, you have to look very carefully down the back there, around this part of the caliper, to make sure that the ends of the seal, the ends of the clip have fully seated once you've pushed the piston back. Otherwise they will wear through the seal and allow water ingress and dust into the back of the seal, and that will get into the cylinder eventually and seize the caliper. So that bit completed now, just to assemble the rest of the caliper, pop the pads in and fit all this back on there, which goes something like that, with the pads in place, and then mount it back on the bike. So back to you in a minute. So hopefully you can see the two halves of the caliper. The pads have been inserted into the two spring clips that hold them in position. They're very finely balanced, so we have to be very careful not to actually disturb them while we're assembling the caliper. We've already put some grease in the two holes, one for the pivot and one for the bolt that holds the caliper together, the sliding bolt. So now we're going to undo the vise, carefully slot this back into its respective, get it the right way around, yeah, be better if I put it right side up actually, into its respective holder, and then tip it over and bring the caliper back together into the working position. Okay, so that's the caliper onto the pin. Brake pads are still in position. Need to make sure that we don't catch the brake pad as we're putting it all back in the caliper, and here we have got a tight fit there, just disturbing that pad slightly, so we just need to make sure we get that put back into position without knocking the pads out. This is where we find out whether we've put the piston fully back down into the cylinder. So it's looking like it does need to be a bit further in, so we'll just get a pair of grips and just pop it further back into that slot there. Best if we had the grips adjusted correctly. There we go, yeah, it was just a fraction proud. Just reposition the pads a little bit again. Just make sure they're tilted slightly open at the front edge, so that when we get to the point where they've got to pass everything, we can just ease them back in. And there we are. Now we need to just make sure we can get that seal back far enough to go past there, which we've done, and that's that assembled. Need to put the bolt back in now, to get the correct one, which is that one, and we can now tighten that bolt up. So I'll come back to you later with the rest of the process of putting the caliper back on. So that's everything assembled. Hopefully the brake pads are still in position, which they are, and we need to be very careful with this unit now not to disturb anything when we get it back, till we get it back on the bike.